All right, so we're back with another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at how we can approach a rap vocal and how you can get it to stand out, sit very warmly and firmly in your mix. Most importantly, like very firmly, so you hear every word, every artifact, and how the artist is performing that specific song, and just like to get a really good warm feelings, like how we're gonna approach a rap hip hop vocal. So I'm gonna get into playing it, and then we're going to break it down afterwards. So this is how it sounds.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that you're done and you popping the pills. Take a seat, nigga, fuck it, it's chill. If you mean it, then I hope that you die. Some stupid shit I say to hear you cry. First name basis, better call a nigga on a first name basis. I couldn't swallow.
Yeah, so basically that's how the record sounds. The main vocals are all muted, everything else like the ad libs and some of the backing vocals, except for some of the moments that are created via the deep vocals and the pitch vocals. But because the main focus is the main vocals, I kept the main vocals as is. So now, basically, my entire approach with this, I wanted you to hear everything Earl is saying. Like I wanted you to feel every syllable, every change in pitch, and everything just needs to feel very raw and out there. So now the entire approach for this record was that we it was warmth mostly. We use that word a lot in mixing with warms, and you think that it's but like you wanted it to feel very raw. Like in the previous tutorial, I said you want it to feel very, 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 very real. But yeah, this was actually quite a simplish vocal process. So I'm gonna switch everything off that is on the entire chain. So there's quite a lot going on here. We're looking at this channel right here. So we're gonna switch everything that's going on here off, and then we're gonna play it and hear how it sounds. So yeah, that's how the record sounds.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that you're done and you popping the pills. Take a seat, nigga, fuck it, it's chill. If you mean it, then I hope that you die. Some stupid shit I say to hear you cry. First name basis, better call a nigga.
Yeah, so basically that's how it sounds. So the first thing that I did was, we recorded this on Perception 120. AKG recorded himself. So the first thing that I did on here was put a Neve on because I wanted to have a preamp and to get it out there. I didn't have any EQing on. I just used this here on top only, which is just to get the volume out and to also get a really good that Neve sound still. Yeah. So this is how it sounds.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God.
So as you can hear, that brought that out really well. Then the next thing we went into was the 76 compressor. So when you open this plugin up, it's a UAD plugin. The input is really low and the output is really high. So what I did was sort of kind of get it to get a bit of this compressor's harmonics out a bit. That's what it sounded like it's doing for me. Was I pulled the input up, so it's usually around here 6. The output is usually around 6 when you just load the plugin. So I pulled it up to 18, and then I pushed the input more into the compressor, so it drives it a lot more. And then we have a medium attack with quite a fast, well, also like a medium-ish release with a ratio of 4. This is how it sounds with it.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter?
So it has a bit more attitude, like it has a lot going on. Now the next plugin that I have on here is quite useless. It's not really doing anything else. I think I just did it for my brain. Also because the breaths were a bit too aggressive. So because this was recorded in Fruity Loops, I have to go back and adjust the breaths there much better because everything was consolidated. So some words, because of comping, were consolidated on top of each other. So what I was trying to do with this was to cut some of the breaths, but it's not really doing much, like at all actually. And then to get rid of some of the background noise, we use the NS1. I usually say NS10. And then the next thing that we did was put the Artvox on, which is just to also bring it out a lot more. So this is how it sounds with.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God.
So it's not really doing anything crazy, but it is still adding more of that attitude and aggression to it. Mostly attitude. That's what we were looking for in this vocal, because it's a very it has that swag to it. So also the R Vox adds like this mid-range low end thing that's really dope on a vocal. Yeah. Then the next thing we did was some EQing, subtractive EQing mostly. These really crazy notches here are just for like the very ringy parts, and these are more for shaping the vocals and taking out some boxy frequencies, and yeah. So this is how it sounds with it on.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that you're done and you popping the pills. Take a seat, nigga, fuck.
Yeah, so basically that's what we did there. Then the next thing was de-essing to get some of the sibilances out. From there, we went into more compression. We used the distressor. I like the character that distressor gives. So what we did here was we had a high pass filter on, and this distortion 2 setting, and we had it at a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah, this is how it sounds with it.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that you're done and you popping the pills.
Yeah, so this also adds a lot of that attitude to the vocal, and it's quite an interesting thing to see, to hear. Basically, it was also a very feeling of sort of a feeling move. The next thing that we did was did some EQing with the SSL to get some of that SSL sound. So we high passed it a lot more to cut that low end like a lot more, and then we compressed it, fast attack, and it releases at 1. So just to also keep it in that pocket, we don't want it jumping around way too much. Then we did cutting, so we did some more subtractive EQ with the SSL. I don't remember why I did that exactly, but I think it was mostly because there were just too many things poking out, especially with the amount of compression and the way we're compressing this vocal. Things started poking out in a way that I didn't like. So we did more subtractive EQ in the high mid frequencies and then low mid frequencies. So this is how it sounds with it on.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water.
Now, if you can tell, this compressor is really rounding it off really nicely. So this is with it on.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God.
Now, if you can't tell the level of control that's bringing in, oh man, I don't know. You need to tell. So what we did here, to be honest, this was the first time I was using this thing on a vocal. I usually use it on my music bus where I have my synths and all my keyboards and pianos and all that. So this I like it because it's a one-stop go. You can compress, you can preamp, you can do everything. So what we did here was more additive stuff. Here in the high mid frequencies, we added 2 at 3K. We added another 2 dB at 500, and then another 2 dB at 200. I came all up in your grill. And then we had some of the preamp. We had this preamp on again, and then we inverted the phase and high passed it. We weren't really doing much. We didn't add anything else, but I liked the texture. I liked how it sounded when we were just going through this, and then we pulled down the volume a bit more. So this is how it sounds with it on.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should've seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say
now this really gave it that character. It was where we wanted it. So the SSL controlled, and then the API stuff also brought back that attitude again, but still with that control. And things were still a bit all over the place, which I didn't like, but not too much. Then the next thing we did was we added this Fairchild compressor. So we compressing way too much. I think I had to get comfortable with it because I felt like it was overkill. But then I was also like, whoa, I like how this sounds though. So let me just trust what I'm doing. Then we went in with the Fairchild compressor with a threshold of 2, a time constant of 3, and then the input gain was at like maybe at 15 around there. Yeah. And then we calibrated it here. This is like acts like it feels like it acts like a ratio. So we had like I think I'd say the ratio would have been on a normal compressor like I want to, but here we just adjusted it until it felt like it was just controlling the peaks a lot more and bringing them down. And yeah, so this is how it sounds.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water.
It's doing a lot. It's going quite crazy, but like it's giving us that control that I wanted initially.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should have seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that you're done and you popping the pills. Take a seat.
Yeah, so that's what it's doing. Then now we needed to add a bit more. So before with the API, I think I was adding body in terms of the EQ. Now I wanted that crispiness. I wanted to, to just feel crunchy, not too much, but in a really nice way. And this does it really well without bringing out any sibilance. I remember someone made a video explaining what this EQ actually does. So I'll try show you with this thing. Wait, not sure. Hold on. Let me do it with this. So basically, that with the fresh air, if you're boosting that high air, it's basically doing something like this while simultaneously also ducking like this. This is a terrible view of it, but like this is what it's basically doing. And similarly with the mid air, it's doing like something that's like the same basically. So now this is how when we have the fresh air on, we boosted it like this at 40 for the high air, and the mid air at 29, and this is how it sounds.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should have seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that you're done and you popping the pills.
Sounds alive, right? Sounds alive. I like it. I like it. And then the next thing that we have on here was kaleidoscope. To be honest, this is not active until like later on in the song. I automated it to do something later on in the song, which is around here. So I already automated it to do something around here to a vocal. So what it does, it darkens it a bit more and makes it feel very flangery and like so sounds quite dope. Now, the next important thing here, it goes to my lead box, my lead vocal bus, which is bus 2. Lead vocal bus is supposed to be at the end. Yeah, lead vocal bus. Where are you, sir? Lead vocal bus. Interesting. I can't find it. But I'll find it. Trust me. There we go. Lead vocal bus is here. This is it. So what I have on my lead vocal bus is a Q8. So what this is doing is it's cutting everything from around 500 going all the way down. Just a shelf at -4, cutting -4 dBs. And then I have like the magma little tube going in there. And it's just for saturation, not imagine like some tube saturation. Then siblings to control those S's a lot more without taking away the character vocal. And then we have the CLA vocals. It's on any lead bus that I have for any song. I learned this from an engineer called Lutando Pilela. So what we're doing here mostly is we're adding some like the lower frequencies and then also roofing it. So roofing it. So like it's adding like that top end again, and then we doing some parallel compression using the push setting. Then that's it. It's very intuitive. Mostly how I mix is intuitive. Yeah, because that's how I learned, and it's just a feeling thing, and just yeah. But yeah, that's what we're doing on there, and that is how it sounds. So these were on the entire time. So you didn't really hear the raw vocal. You heard the vocal going through the lead bus. So the next thing that we did with the vocal was we added time-based effects basically. So the first thing that we did was we did like a bunch of depth stuff. So this is how it sounds with the effects.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should have seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that you...
So mostly what we were doing here was depth. Like we wanted depth, we wanted some delay, just to fill that space in the back of the vocal. So it feels dry, but it's not too dry. What we ended up using was let's go to bus 11. If I can find it first, actually. Bus 11, where are you, sir? Okay, there we go. So the first thing that we did was we EQ'd. This is for the depth stuff. We EQ'd a lot of the low end out, and then we put in some mid frequencies around here. We boosted some of that, and then we went into the Valhalla, this vintage reverb on drum air. This was a preset, and just blend to taste. So this makes it feel like it's in a small room. And then here, what we were doing was we just added like a flanger type of effect, so it feels a lot bigger. So it's like this bright, small, tight room that's doing that. And then we did some H delay. Just you find it. This is to taste mostly, and then you blend it in to how it's gonna fit. It's kind of, this is a dark delay, is it? No, no, it isn't. It's quite bright, actually. And then this is similar to what we were doing on the other side. I can't really walk you through it because it was just a feeling thing, but that's how you must experiment and see how you're feeling. And then this is also doing like something similar, like just a very cathedral long reverb. And then one of the reverb that was more intentional was this one. We were using the UAD plates. I want a reverb that sounds expensive, so it is the main reverb sound in this entire vocal. Basically, it's what's giving it the whole its sound. So this is how it sounds with it off.
I couldn't swallow the pills or swallow the water. Should have seen me that night, the sight was a slaughter. I opened my book, I'm praying to God. Why do you cause me to fight with your daughter? You say that.
So it's the main driving reverb sound, and then you can hear the delay and all that. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you can take something from this and see how you can blend it into your very own workflow, and how that can work really well for you and your process. So now you can try that in your mix, or you can hire me for mixing and mastering services. All my details will be in my description. So my phone number, my email, and my Instagram. You can contact me on any of those at any time, and we can get your mixes sounding as dope. So also with this one, just bear in mind this was a mix one, so there's reversions that we did for Earl that he wanted, and then I also added earlier, but this was the main direction we were going. All those you'll hear when the song actually comes out. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you learned something. You can always DM me and ask anything at any time. If I can help, I definitely will. And if you want to hire me for mixing and mastering services, we can go for that. All right, cheers. Thank you so much.